we had our big annual user conference and we soft launched, and then a week ago we officially launched our Cantaloupe community. And I'm just so passionate about this. I think there's so much opportunity here. We've talked about it in like strategy meetings for the last, I don't know, 1 to 2 years, marketing strategy meetings. And oh, how could we do a Cantaloupe community? And I think there's so much opportunity here, but it's a lot of work, right? It's a beast to kind of launch something like this. So I'm really proud of my team, but I'm excited because I think, look, at the end of the day, people want to connect with people. They want to understand and learn from each other. They don't want to always just be feeling like they're being sold to.
You're listening to the Revenue-Driven CMO, the podcast where we break down the most effective growth strategies from top marketing leaders. Join us every week as we dive into their stories, challenges, and insights that drive revenue. This show is brought to you by Level Agency, where AI-enabled performance marketing expertise blends the art and science of marketing to deliver measurable results.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Revenue-Driven CMO. I'm your host, Chris Mechanic, here with a really exciting guest today. Our guest is a passionate and dynamic marketing leader who really believes in developing, coaching, mentoring people on the team as potentially the best way to build businesses, but also push the boundaries of what's possible. She's got over 10 years experience leading and developing sales and marketing teams, working primarily in payments and software services, but both on the B2C and B2B2C side of things. She currently is Chief Marketing Officer at Cantaloupe, which is a really interesting company that I'm excited to learn more about. But what's really cool about her experience there is like she's been there for, nearly 10 years. And if you look at her LinkedIn, you can just see it's like boom, promotion, boom, promotion, boom, promotion. And for the last 2 years, she has been at the helm of the entire marketing organization there. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Miss Elyssa Steiner. How are you,
Thank
Elyssa?
you. I'm doing great. That was like the best introduction. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. So, we like to get right down to business. We like to lead with the values. So, why don't you tell us, like, what's been one of your biggest secrets to success?
Yeah, I think over the years, like I've really started to hone in on like I think my secret's kind of simple, but it's really powerful for marketers. And I firmly believe that marketing drives the growth of the business by taking lead and really kind of aligning every department to a shared goal. And I think my background coming from sales and marketing has really actually kind of honed in on this sort of key secret to how marketing can essentially drive where the business needs to go next. So I'm going to give you 5 tips and 5 kind of steps that I think can help you unlock tremendous growth for your company. And then I'm sure you and I will spend some time on unpacking these 5 steps. Does that sound good?
Sure. Yeah, perfect.
Right. So first one, know your audience, which may seem super simple when I say that, but I think owning the understanding of who your customer is today, and I'm not talking just like demographics, I'm talking like the psychographics, the deeper motivators, the challenges these customers face, the desires that drive them to want to like be in this business, right? Really unpacking who they are and then sort of where they live in a sense of what social platforms are they engaged on from a digital perspective. There's so much to really unpack when you really need to understand who your audience is. The
Mhm.
second step is researching your total addressable market or your TAM. And I think sometimes this gets missed in sort of the steps of the process, but it's so critical. If you know who your audience is, then you need to really understand like what's the potential universe for your customers. So, how big is the market? Where do the opportunities lie? And there's sometimes is this method of looking at your addressable market and saying like, what's my low hanging fruit? What do I know I can get potentially? And then there's like the pie in the sky, and being able to see both of those views is really critical, I think, in kind of understanding how you get to the third step, which is prioritizing high value products. And I think this is where it becomes critical when you run a really lean marketing team. And I feel like today, so many organizations might have lean marketing teams, but if you understand your audience and you understand your TAM, you can start to have significant influence on the product development and the priorities because you become the voice of the customer. And I think marketing is such a critical role in doing that to the entire organization. So I want to give kind of four key criteria to look at when you prioritize like high value product. What does that mean, right? So one criteria is revenue potential. What products can generate the most revenue? Is
Mhm.
it disruptive? So is it a major innovator or is it solving a competitive pain point? And what's the customer value? Is it solving a big customer problem or maybe a little one as a part of a bigger process? And then what does the market fit look like? Like how does it align to target customer needs? And if you can kind of answer those four key things, then you can start to stack rank your products. And that'll help you to better assess, okay, at the end of the day, which ones, as from a marketing perspective, does my team need to really focus in on when it comes to driving the most revenue and long-term customer loyalty?
Mhm.
Now, the fourth step, which we have gotten really good at over the last year, is executing on a playbook. And I think sometimes we as marketers like, okay, now I know the audience, I know who I'm going after, I understand the team, I know what products we're going to focus on because these ones are going to drive great revenue. And then I'm just going to start building campaign and we're going to launch it on this date.
Mhm.
But there's kind of this process that needs to happen in between that of building a playbook that is for the entire company. Doesn't matter if you're in customer service, if you're in account management, if you're a sales rep, the playbook is going to be comprehensive. It's going to give you essentially, we do a digital resource that has access to anything that is materials to use in all these kinds of different departments. So it's going to give you the key value props of the product that we're launching, the targeted customers, FAQs, we think they're going to competitive analysis. If there's competitor products out there, how do we stack rank ourselves? The sales material link. How do I know what digital files to attach to a specific email if I'm doing an introduction, templates, and then the whole marketing campaign visual of what we're doing to roll out that product, including pricing for the team. So it's really like your playbook to everything you need to know. And that becomes such an important process to launching it, and it really creates this like setting expectations for success for the teams before you actually get to launch date. And then step number 5, which is probably no surprise, but it's really around reporting back and measuring success. And sometimes this can be challenging for marketing team, but if you can be in locking step with sales and really get a sense of what are we hearing? What is the pipeline looking like? What's working on the marketing campaign perspective, right? And what's driving those opportunities or book demos? And then getting a sense and working with sales around like, what's that feedback? How is it closing deals? Also hearing feedback if there are any customer challenges around the product as it starts to get adopted and making sure you're being that voice of the customer internally to the product team. So this piece is so critical that you don't just do it one and done. You're constantly kind of as best in real time monitoring what's happening, especially if it's a big revenue driver product that you're releasing. But I think at the end of the day, if you can kind of hone in on those 5 steps as a part of a marketing organization, and all of those kind of help drive where do you spend your team's time, I think you really start to create a recipe for success that enables the marketing team to be that one voice of the customer, but also that revenue driver within the organization to say, hey, this is where we need to go next. And this is what we're hearing. And this is how we are going to essentially drive that business growth within the entire organization. So that's my secret. It has multiple elements to it. Happy to unpack it with you, but I think it really helps set teams up for success.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely very comprehensive. One thing that you said very briefly, but I'm not sure if it came through, but it sounds like you sort of use this in a way not just to generate demand and leads and pipeline, but also to inform maybe like future product developments or product innovations. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I think sometimes there's always this gap, right? And it depends on every organization how much the product team is close to the customer. And I think marketing has to bridge that. And so I do think that a lot of times we as marketers need to be at the helm of understanding the feedback sales is hearing, but then also understanding like from the ground up, what are the customers saying and feeding that into the product team to whether drive feature changes or improvement, or even in the sense of, hey, the market's shifting. The trends are going this way. We really need to start thinking about how are we going to bring a new innovation that's going to solve that need based off of what we're seeing today in the market.
I have a question for you. And a lot of people talk about, listening, and, being in lockstep with the sales team and such. But I'm wondering, like, how do you actually listen? Like, what are the mechanisms? Is it a meeting with sales? Is it listening to calls? Like, what are the mechanisms for listening to both prospects and customers in your world?
I think it starts with like the relationship between sales leaders and marketing leaders, right? And when I say marketing leaders, I'm talking like not just myself, like all of my direct reports, so director levels, they also have separate calls with the sales team. So there's this really big open line of communication. But I think part of it is just kind of in this weekly. And they're meeting with them, understanding about specific new products that are going out, how is the feedback from the customer coming in, what's wrong, what's working. So I think, yeah, you could say weekly calls work really well, but it's one thing to have a call, but you really need to like listen into hearing what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
And respond and react. If marketing just has the calls to have the calls, but is like, no, at the end of the day, I still think what we're doing is right. So we're gonna keep moving forward. Sales starts to create like, well, what's the point? Right. And
Right.
there's a lack of then there's a distrust kind of that can form and it sort of breaks that relationship. So
Yeah.
we have to be really mindful on being such active listeners from the sales team. 'Cause at the end of the day, if they don't want to sell a product because the customer response isn't good, then why are we pushing the product, right? Because they
Right.
don't sell it. So we need to really understand what's going to help them hit their numbers. What are they actively trying to sell that they think is going to help them hit their numbers? Okay, sometimes the how we get there and how we execute may be different from what they think it should be. But at the end of the day, if we hear and are actively listening to that feedback, we can get there a different way. That's okay, right? That's where we come in as experts, as marketers. But as long as we're hitting at the end of the day the goal that they're trying to drive, I think that's what's the critical part. Um,
Yeah.
so I think weekly calls work great. But we also, all the sales team members, they send out weekly reports every Monday. They send out like their pipeline.
Mhm.
Right? Um, we need to be responsible in reviewing that pipeline. Like I skim every single one. We've got a lot of sales reps, 20 plus reps from roughly give or take across our small, medium, enterprise level sales team.
Yeah.
And I skim them just to get a sense of like, because they'll even put challenges at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Where do they need marketing's help? And so it's really insightful. It takes time to do that, but that's also another lever that my team uses to say, hey, did you see this? They closed that deal. I wonder how they did it. I'm going to reach out, right? Like those are triggers to say, how can we be informed by what we're seeing in the details they are sharing with us?
You just gave me $1 billion idea.
Okay.
So, you've got these sales reps, right? You've got, I'm sure, a lot of customers, right? In a given day, at Cantaloupe, there's probably hundreds of calls that take place, right? We could theoretically build like the ultimate listening machine, right? Because most companies will be using like a Gong or
We've gone.
yeah, right. So you get all of the transcripts, which are great, but you also have the voice, like the recording, because there's a lot that the transcript will miss, right? In terms of like sentiment and sometimes it gets like the words wrong if
Yeah.
the customer speaks in a certain way or whatever. Um, but imagine if you could ingest all of those calls like into an AI and basically get and train the AI in such a way, it could be both with, just kind of prompting, but also like human in the loop kind of thing that's gonna, like a person that's gonna say, hey, this call is an important one because of that. But you
Yeah.
could theoretically get the AI so that it will like automatically on a day-to-day basis, or maybe even in real time, like surface the real signal from the noise.
I really think you're onto something. I think taking that, because like again, we do use tools like Gong, and taking that and then also investing in like the weekly sales reports, and then if it could surface like, yeah, daily alerts almost that are insightful for various teams. Maybe it's like marketing gets this type of alert, but I don't know, customer service gets a different type of one. I think there's definitely something there for sure. And I feel like tools are on that path, but there's like a lot of tools that do just this part or just that part. And there's just so much good intel that comes into your email box, but you need it like aggregated so that you can work just faster, right?
Totally. I love listening to calls. Like it's so insightful, but it's so time consuming. And I'm surprised like Gong's not all over that. I haven't been inside of Gong. We have Gong too, but I haven't been inside personally for a while. They've done some pretty cool stuff with like, written summaries, but it's like you
Mhm.
have the voice file. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you have used ChatGPT at all, like on like with the voice, in the voice version where you're just like speaking with it, but it's really sharp. Like it can understand like deep nuances in language, and I'm sure it could be trained on sentiment too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's exciting stuff. Um, okay, so we've got the listening piece, we've got the lockstep um, with sales piece. I want to talk about TAMs a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, it's general wisdom that they're important, right? And I'm not from like a big company background. Like I, you know, founded this agency basically like at a kitchen table with two people, and we just grew organically. So like this whole thing of investors and
Yeah.
big company stuff was very foreign to me. And now it's pretty natural because like a lot of our clients are going through it. And like I get the idea of a TAM, like you want to understand the total addressable market. In our world, that is well, and you mentioned about subsegments, but like why is the TAM important to you? Like the total market versus like maybe just more of the WAM or like the winnable addressable market? Or is that what you mean?
So I think it's actually a combination. Um, you're right. Like we are a large organization to some extent. Like we're a publicly traded company. And so at the end of the day, like we have to constantly have a pulse with our investor community around like what is our addressable market from a big broad level, right?
Yeah.
And because we cover different geographies, we slice and dice it between the US, North America to Europe to LAC region, right?
Yeah.
But the way, like, for example, we just kind of started going through this TAM exercise to update our addressable market. And again, marketing was kind of owning that. And I think because even our world has evolved, we're looking at it a little differently. So, for example, we actually have a separate section of the way we are looking at TAM that is our current product set today, because we have so many add-on software services, right? And a lot of B2B companies might have all these different add-on subscriptions that you can do to them, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a perfect example of why we actually segmented that out. And I sort of call it our core product roadmap team. Because at the end of the day, we actually can figure out how many customers are on this specific software who could take this additional piece of software, right? So
Yeah.
to your point, that is actually like very addressable, attainable team, right? And
Mhm.
so I look at that as like our core product roadmap team. And then separate from that, we have a whole verticals team that we look at. And a part of that is it's actually very segmented. So it's setting like our products like our micro markets, our smart stored, even smart stores across. different sub verticals, like in residential, in airport, in whatever these other kind of unique use cases are, we line item it for each of those. Now, of course, we provide a roll up when we talk to investor communities and whatnot. But at the end of the day, that's what I mean by like understanding your TAM, because you can get a really good picture, even on the vertical side. Sure, it may feel like, oh, that's inflated or that's impossible. We'll never get that many. There's thousands of airports. Like, are you
Yeah.
really going to be in every airport? But then you can say, hey, I think 10% of that is absolutely attainable.
So I'm on your site right now. And it looks like now I can understand sort of why TAMs might be like especially relevant for you guys. Cause it's like you almost sort of list your TAMs on the site in a way. Like you've got stadiums, you've got
Yeah.
festivals, you've got multifamily. So I guess it does make a lot of sense when you're in a space where you've got lots of different products and lots of different end markets, to really have a pulse on that. And it makes total sense, like from an investor's perspective, to be able to say like, hey, you know, we have only like a 2% market share, say, in stadiums, and they're incredibly profitable. So like, let's, you know, invest more there.
Yeah.
How many
I think,
products do you guys have?
oh gosh, because there's so many flavors, like in which you can take one product, add on this product. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we have our hardware. We really have kind of three core pieces that we report against: our equipment revenue, our transaction revenue, and our subscription. And in all three of those categories, we sell services, right?
Mhm.
Or products, or like, equipment, essentially in the hardware category.
Well,
Everything from,
actually, I'm sorry, but before we go there, let's just take a step back for the
yeah.
listeners and just say like, what do you guys do? You know, for somebody that's not familiar with Cantaloupe, like, how do you sort of describe it to them?
Yeah, so we really power technology that essentially drives self-service commerce. So what I mean by that is anything that is an unattended experience. And I'll give you examples, 'cause I think that's the easiest way for people to understand, where you want to pay with a digital form of payment. Now today, mobile wallet, credit or debit card, right? Common use cases. But you were I'm talking about things like you go up to a vending machine in an airport, you need to buy a water. That's as simple as like a food and beverage kind of use case. But also you go to a stadium and we view like where you can scan a QR code and do in-seat delivery for concession. Um,
Really?
Self-checkout kiosk. Um, so, I mean, again, all these different use cases are all self-service. So we settle the point of sale, the card reader terminal that enables the consumer to essentially tap their card, open up a smart store, which is like almost like two cooler cabinet style setup. And it opens and you just take what you want and it charges your card. It knows exactly what you've taken and it charges your card and you walk away. So there's all these different types of flavors of what we sell, but essentially it's all things self-service that we power. So from that consumer experience to then the software services that help the guy or gal that's managing those locations manage them efficiently, right? Know exactly what's selling, when it's selling, when to restock it if it's got physical products or goods in it, to know how to restock it and when, so that
Yeah.
capturing as much of those sales as possible.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's awesome. It's like, well, I recently experienced a completely unattended store. I think it was in an airport actually, but it was just a
Yeah.
store. You walk in, and I know Amazon, they might have killed this initiative, but they had like the Amazon Go stores, which you just like literally walk in, I think. But that's really cool.
Yeah.
Uh, and you guys have been around. Well, I know you've been there nearly 10 years. The company has been around for how long?
30 plus years.
Really?
Started in doing card readers literally in like the 90s, when cash was still king. And now, cash is no longer king. If you have a vending machine or an amusement arcade is a really good example. Like you think about bowling alleys that have all those arcade machines. And a lot
Yeah.
of them still today or like, oh, you got to have quarters, which is wild because no
Right.
one carries cash. So there's a huge opportunity there to continue to kind of revamp that industry and to put card readers on all of those machines so that now when the kid will ask for, hey, can I go play that? Sure, just swipe your card and they can get 4 plays or whatever you want to select. So
Yeah. Who
it's
carries
all about,
cash anymore?
I know, right? So it's
So
like
you
all
could
about
actually retrofit those older machines with card readers. Same with older
absolutely.
vending machines.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
absolutely.
So the world is really your oyster. I mean, I still see vending machines all the time that don't have those.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, and it's evolving. Like the consumer trends, especially coming out of things like the pandemic, have accelerated the need for people wanting things fast, like easy, convenient, and all like self-service, right? Everybody got really comfortable paying with their mobile wallet. Everybody got really comfortable using self-checkout. And so we've continued to kind of evolve even our product mix because challenges have come up through that process, right? Like labor challenges, shrinkage, and theft issues, right? So we just released a few months ago our smart store, which is what I
Mhm.
was talking about, where it has that weighted shelf technology, again, to solve some of those challenges around how do we control theft? How do we eliminate shrink, but
Mhm.
still give the experience the consumer wants, where it's quick, tap my card, grab what I want, and go.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So, like, who's a typical buyer for you? Like, what's their title or their role? It,
Um,
I know it probably varies a lot,
it
but like,
does. So we have 32,000 customers, and I'd say about 30,000 of those are small business entrepreneurs. So you're talking about people who want a side hustle, passive income, looking for ways to get started with some kind of entrepreneurial type business. And the cool thing is like, you don't have to have a degree to do this. You don't have to have a degree to go place a smart store and stock it, right?
right.
You just do it. You need to have capital to do it. But we also offer services that help you do that, right? So
Interesting.
I think our typical, like our ideal customer profile, it varies based off of that segment of customer. You know, the 80/20 rule still applies, that 80% of our revenue is driven by our more mid-enterprise customer base. So, we're going after folks that are traditional ideal customer profiles. They're already kind of in the vending industry. We call them operators. They run those businesses and they just need new technology, new innovations, or card readers to put on legacy vending machines to enable them and software to manage their business better and more efficiently and more profitably. But what
Mhm.
we're seeing is this shift where retailers or, you know, companies that have like retail outlet kind of stores or small stores are looking at ways to provide self-service. And how do they do that? Because they want grab and go. And so we're kind of seeing this new ideal customer profile also bubble up in some of our new technologies and innovations that we've released into the market.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So now, if we circle back to your original secret, one of the things that you had mentioned was like product prioritization and prioritizing, sort of not necessarily just the most profitable, but also like the disruptive, the ones that are like most valuable to customers. So when with your uh, probably substantial but still limited marketing resources, like when you sit back to survey the field, like what are those like prioritized or which are you prioritizing generally? Like the mid-market enterprise stuff or more of the SMB kind of operator stuff?
Um, so I think as a part of the steps, this part is really going to define if it hits from what revenue it's going to drive based off of our addressable market. Is it disruptive? Do we think we can be first to market in a way on this specific solution? And what's the high value that it brings to the customer? If we can kind of answer this kind of 4 criteria as I mentioned about the product priority, because you're right, our team specifically runs lean in a sense also that like we talk to our pocket, we have all these industries that we try to serve with our product. At the end of the day, we can't all of it. We can't market all of it, right? And so For us, we look at these variables. We then kind of tier the product. So we'll say it's a tier 1 because we think it's going to drive this much revenue. It's meeting the customer need, and it's potentially disruptive to the market, right?
Mhm.
And the sales team believes in it too, right? Like getting them aligned on how we kind of tier the products, which then means a tier 1 is going to get all sorts of aspects of marketing support, whether that's whole kind of email campaign setup, a whole series where we'll also draft up sales materials for it. We'll do paid advertising for it. Like it has all these different kinds of tactics that will roll up into it versus a tier 2 or a tier 3. And
Mhm.
we segment down, but a lot of it's going to be driven off of the fact of what's the revenue we think it's going to drive. And answering that question oftentimes is based off of those levers I mentioned, right? Sales believes it's going to sell this much. We think it's going to hit the market this way and disrupt it this way. And those variables roll up to then we think it's going to drive this much revenue. And that's where then we focus attention to.
Mhm. I gotcha. I'm on the site right now, like I'd mentioned. Congratulations. The earnings call went really well. The stock is up 13% today,
Thanks. We're very excited.
up more than 44% last year. So that's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And I also see you launched the capital fund, it looks like just recently, yesterday.
We did, yes.
So you guys are moving and shaking, man. Well done.
We are. And a lot of that is like, again, back to like marketing's got to be the voice of the customer. And we said, okay, how do we sell more stuff? Right? How do we sell more things? What if we could help our thousands, tens of thousands of small business customers have competitive, easy access to essentially, capital funds, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we help them grow their business? And so
Mhm.
Cantaloupe Capital is really like a driver of partnering with folks like Fundbox who are experts in kind of this small business micro lending type of model and being able to leverage them in their services and tie it to our customers to
That's so
enable
smart.
buy more stuff, right?
Yeah. So now you can call up every single one of like the 30,000 side hustle Sams and be like, hey, you want another location or two? Cool. Here's some money. Go do it.
And they make it super easy. The application process is so simple. Again, like that's part of the thing. Like you got to really make sure the product is going to what you think it's going to solve for. And if you don't, I think marketing's responsibility sometimes is to go back to product before launching a product and saying, hey, hold up. We actually think this needs to be done in order to sell more of it. And we don't want to commercially launch it until you execute X, Y, and Z. And those conversations, I think, sometimes can be hard to have, but they're so important because a lot of times you have one shot to launch a product into the market. And if it flops, it's a lot harder to come back in and like, oh, kind of like we're relaunching this. I promise it now does this, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a lot harder to do.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we've got just under maybe 10 or 15 minutes left. I want to be sensitive to your time, but I'd like to get geeky a little bit if it's cool with you.
Yep,
Um,
good.
and just talk marketing. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm curious, and it's tough to ask you general questions because I know you've got a lot of different segments, but I guess if we're talking about mid-market and enterprise, like what's really moving the needle there from a marketing perspective? Like what is it, mostly events? Do you do a lot of paid media, LinkedIn, YouTube? Like what's really sort of making the cash registers ding there?
Yeah, for a mid-market enterprise, they do function very different. It's much more of a B2B play for us. And a lot of times we sort of know who we're going after. So it's a mixture of account-based marketing tactics. We do strategic events where we do very kind of specific, small, exclusive invite customer, or like I said, there's so many add-on services we can sell that they may be a customer today, but they might only be using one piece of, 5 other things that they could take advantage of. So that is opportunity in itself for us to continue to go after. But events have picked up a lot in that enterprise mid-market space. And so we really lean into that to connect with them. It's very relationship driven in our industry.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times getting our reps to create those opportunities to enable them to have those conversations, to build rapport with the customers, and trust and credibility is so critical to who they want to do business with. So
Yeah.
those are, I would say, some of the levers. We do a lot of educational stuff for those
Mhm.
customers, making sure they know new features that we're rolling out, webinars. We've been doing some LinkedIn Live events too, just to, again, try a different format, make it less formal of like a webinar. People got webinar fatigue over the years. And we've seen some nice success with those. We do those in our UK division as well, which is a different ballgame for us. We're trying to build a whole brand over in the UK EMEA market versus in the States. Cantaloupe is so well known for its solution. So it really just depends on kind of the market and then how we think we can connect and build trust and credibility with the enterprise mid-market customer.
So the entire marketing org, I imagine, reports up to you. Is it you? Do the SDRs and the sales reps also report to you, or is it?
They do not. I just manage all the marketing team members. We're a team of 10. So again,
Oh,
lean and mean, but
small and mighty, nice.
we execute very well. And then we
How do you
have,
have them split up, if you don't mind, or how do you have the 10 people organized?
yeah, so I have four directors under me. I have one product marketing side, so that's kind of like one function. And then I have growth marketing, which is, I would say, a lot of the things that roll up under her specifically are tied to how do we go after our small business segment, right? Because like paid advertising, all of that is more of a B2C play for us, which is that small entrepreneurial um, kind of operator or customer.
Yeah.
And then I have someone that owns our events and partnership side, and then our brand and communication side. So those are kind of the four directors that roll up under me, and then they each of them have one or two individuals under them.
Got it. Okay. That's a good way. And that's what I would have assumed probably that you've got it broken up like the operators versus, the larger enterprise. Um, and then so most of the what you would call, I guess, digital stuff like the ads and things is with the operator stuff, but or with the operator segment, but do you do much in the way of paid ads or SEO or anything for the mid-market enterprise?
Yeah, I mean, our SEO strategy is tailored to cover across the board. Okay. And I think, though, from our paid media side, a lot of what we do on the paid media side is very tailored to our small business. But we do some things within trade publication, and that again helps us cast a net across small, medium, and enterprise customers.
Mhm.
But like I said, geography matters too. So in the States, we may be heavily focused on our paid media strategy around small business. In the UK, our specific strategy is actually more focused here on the mid-enterprise. The customer profile is different. And our strategy is different. We're trying to build the brand awareness. We're trying to build credibility in the market. And we're also going after, they're much more consolidated in the UK region. And so we are very focused on the mid-enterprise customer base over there.
Mhm.
So any of our tactics, even on the paid side, are kind of speaking to that audience.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So as we look forward to 2025 and beyond, what are you guys really excited about? Is there anything net new that you're investing in? Any tools or tech or techniques or anything that's just got everyone buzzing?
Yes, in the last like 2 weeks, we had our big annual user conference and we soft launched, and then a week ago we officially launched our Cantaloupe community. And I'm just so passionate about this. I think there's so much opportunity here. We've talked about it in like strategy meetings for the last, I don't know, 1 to 2 years, marketing strategy meetings. And oh, how could we do a cantaloupe community? And I think there's so much opportunity here, but it's a lot of work, right? It's a beast to kind of launch something like this. So I'm really proud of my team, but I'm excited because I think, look, at the end of the day, people want to connect with people. They want to understand and learn from each other. They don't want to always just be feeling like they're being sold to.
Yeah.
And we have so thousands of customers. And there are Facebook groups that are like vending Facebook groups that have 20,000 members. I mean, it's amazing
Yeah.
how many Facebook groups there are that just have thousands of people belonging.
Mhm.
And we've monitored these Facebook groups, and like you see the questions they ask, and some of it's like so simple. It's like, oh, I'm trying to get a new location. Does anyone have a sample of a contract or, you know, basic questions, right? For
Yeah.
starting their business. And so that kind of fueled this thought process of creating a cantaloupe community where we can be a part of the conversation, but we also could just connect our customers to each other, to learn from each other, create this kind of forum. And we've built it out to where we've got different discussion forums. We also have prompts of like a Friday Q&A with an expert, Tuesday tips. So trying to keep it to where there's always kind of engaging conversations, content that we're throwing out there for the community, house where you can see all the events we're going to be at, webinars. We even created like a knowledge base and a certification section where you could get certified. Like we've heard that from customers like, hey, I just hired so and so. And do you guys have any kind of Seed Pro training that you can do? And now we're building these in community. And I just think it's such a powerful tool and anybody can be a member. You don't have to be a Cantaloupe customer.
Yeah.
You can join even if you're a prospect,
Yeah.
potentially us, right? And I think what's cool about that is we're basically creating a place where we bring this community of people together, like-minded business owners, and we provide them these resources. The other day, we're creating more advocates of Cantaloupe, right? We're
Yeah.
creating more people that believe in what we're doing to providing them resources and tools to be successful, but then also ultimately buying more of our product, right?
Yeah.
Like I strongly believe at the end of the day, this can be a whole new channel for us to drive revenue. Now,
100%.
is that what we're coming out the gate and saying, oh, this is what this does? No. But at the end of the day, if we're successful at creating the network, keeping them engaged, giving them the resources, that is a natural result of what this new channel will be for us. And I'm just really excited. We saw in the first week over 300 member signups.
Wow.
Our goal was like, oh, okay, let's see in the first, I mean, it's hard to tell, right? You launch something new. First 90 days, can we get 200 members? And in
Yeah.
1 week, we had 320 plus.
Wow. That's awesome. And where does
That's
this live? Is this a Facebook group or is this something like on a platform?
It's on a platform. We partnered up with Better Mode. That's the tool we use.
Butter.
But it look and feels like it's Cantaloupe. It's fully branded. You can go to our website and under resources, you can actually see community, and that's where you can sign up.
Mhm.
So it all starts with like being on our website,
Yeah.
and you can create an account and you can become a member.
That's awesome. And very timely, I would say. It was 2 or 3 episodes ago, we had Derek Weeks on the pod, and he is kind of famous a little bit in B2B circles for like being a pioneer in the community space. He was with Sonatype and now he's with Catalan. But he had a lot of really interesting insights to share. You might want to give it a listen if you're
I should.
in that mode. But that's really, really cool. And congrats on the
Hey,
300 persons or 300 signups in the first week. It was
thanks.
funny with Derek. I was like, hey man, community, like it's been around for a while. Is it played out? Like, did we miss did we miss the boat if we haven't done it already? And he was like, dude, there's no wrong time to invest in community.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
I agree, and I'm excited at just like where we're gonna take it for sure.
Well, Elyssa, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'm sure that everybody listening got a ton out of it. I got a ton out of it. I'm inspired. I'm going to look a little more closely at your guys' stock because it seems like you're going up and to the right. And who knows, maybe I'll join the community and set up a little vending side hustle somewhere.
Yeah. I
That would be
mean,
fun.
you are welcome to, and we're happy to help you. So
That's awesome. Well, for everybody listening, if you did enjoy this, if you learned anything, if you were a little bit inspired, please pay it forward, share this with a friend, or drop us a 5-star review or a comment anywhere you get your pods. We always appreciate that. Elyssa, for folks that would like to learn more about you or Cantaloupe, where would you refer them?
yeah, they can go to cantaloupe.com, and it's spelled just like the fruit.
Great name,
But
by the way.
thank you. But they can also they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm sure maybe you'll drop it somewhere within this, but Elyssa Steiner. Happy to connect with folks, and yeah, I really appreciate you having me on today. It's been fun to chat through this stuff. I always get so excited about just kind of like the things we're doing here and what we're doing in our industry. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's very exciting stuff. Cool. Well, hey, stay on the line just 1 second. We'll wrap up. But for everybody listening, that was another exciting episode of Revenue-Driven CMO, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Revenue-Driven CMO. We really appreciate you being here. For more details, show notes, past episodes, head over to revenue-drivencmo.com. This show is brought to you by Level Agency, combining AI-enabled performance marketing expertise with the right mix of data and creativity to fuel growth. Catch you next week.